Our next presenter is someone I know very well, and hopefully you'll feel as good about him when he's done presenting as I do, as the Chief Marketing Officer of Macy's, and his name is Rich Lennox. I'll just tell you a little bit about Rich. He's had a great background for someone in this role, I think, and that is he worked at an agency, was very influential at JWT, and from there, one of his important accounts was De Beers. De Beers liked him so much, they made him, full-time working with them, and if you've ever heard the term, a diamond is forever, this is the guy that created that term. So from there, Rich had the experience. One of the executives that he had worked for in the past went to Toys R Us before this last round and tried to help save them, and then I saved him by bringing him to Macy's, and Rich has just done a sensational job, and you're going to hear a lot about the details of some of the things that are happening at the company today, but I give him a tremendous amount of credit for really re-engaging this consumer, particularly in the last 18 months that he's been associated with the company, and building a loyalty program that did not really exist in the way it does today. So with that, let me just introduce Rich Lennox.
So good afternoon, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. So to all the students in the room, I feel your pain. 22 months ago, I was sitting in a room being interviewed by Terry Lundgren. Talk about intimidating. And Terry could not have been more charming, but I was sitting there really desperate to have this opportunity to be part of this storied brand moving forward. And I was lucky enough to get that role. And what I'm going to do today is show you some of the work that myself and a really, really talented group of marketers, some who have been at Macy's for a very long time, and some who are new to the team, have been putting together over the last 18 months. But one piece of advice I would give to the students, life is a series of interviews, and every so often you get the opportunity to go for a role that will scare the absolute living hell out of you because you feel that it is so much bigger than you. And what you really do is you hope that you can get into that role and have enough time and enough air cover from your CEO to grow and develop into that role. My advice to you is run at those roles, because if you're not taking them, then quite frankly, you're not aiming high enough. So what I'm going to do is tell you the story of the last 18 months where I've been desperately trying to grow into the opportunity that Terry gave me, okay? So what I'm going to do in the presentation today is I'm going to give you an overview of sort of, for about the first 20 minutes, I'm going to take you through the strategic evolution in the marketing model that we built. And then in the last sort of 10 minutes, I'm going to show you some of the executional work that is beginning to flow out of that. What I want you to remember is this is very much a work in progress. Great campaigns take a long time to develop. I think we are, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think we're at a solid 4. The great thing about that is what it means is the opportunity in front of us is really, really strong. So, this is not how I feel as a marketer in a department store. I don't feel like a wounded zebra wandering across the Serengeti about to be attacked by a pride of lions, in which case one of them's called Amazon, one of them's called whatever. What this slide is about is I read zoology at university. So the first thing is I should be entirely grateful that I actually have had a career. But what it actually led me to do is it gave me an opportunity to spend a lot of time learning about behavioral science. I actually spent a year at London Zoo working with big cats, hence the picture of the lions, understanding a pattern of their behavior called stereotypical behavior. And what it did is it gave me a great foundation in understanding why animals do what they do. And as a marketer today, I think this is incredibly important because we can talk about data, we can talk about insight, but what we really have to do is understand what are the behavioral characteristics that are underpinning those behaviors and attitudinal instincts. So, this may be a shocking fact to most of the people in the room. As a father of a 16-year-old girl and a 19-year-old girl, I can absolutely tell you I live this reality every day. The reality of it is that humans are not thinking machines that occasionally feel. We are feeling machines that occasionally think. All the science is telling us that our system one, in terms of how we process, those habitual, inbuilt, instinctive reactions rule about 95% of the decisions we make. Only 5% of the decisions that we make are actually driven out of highly considered, rational thought. So as a marketer, when we spend hours and hours and hours and hours trying to figure out if we just say this, they will come, what we've got to remember is we've got to engage the heart as well as the head. Now, what that basically then points you at is the heart of your relationship with your customer is your brand. And if you can build a strong, vibrant brand, and there's nothing about that anyone in this room doesn't understand, what you do is you unlock a lot of good things. You unlock relationship, you unlock trust, you unlock belief. And what happens is your customer becomes far less price sensitive and much more of someone who is prepared to become into a relationship with you and become much more habitual in the way that they choose in that category. So, if you've read about Macy's, one of the things that has been launched is the thing we call the North Star strategy. The top point of the star is called from familiar to favorite, and because I'm leading the marketing teams, that becomes my responsibility. When I came into Macy's, one of the things that I heard a lot was people would describe the Macy's brand as iconic. And quite frankly, I think iconic is just a polite word for dusty. The Clash, the album London Calling, is iconic. The Queen is iconic. The British Empire was iconic, and we all know what happened to that. What I wanted to do, what I think Macy's needs to do, is become a vibrant brand in people's lives again. I'm not sure that the world's great brands today are describing themselves as iconic. So whilst I am a huge admirer of the Macy's brand, we had to reignite it. Now, the good thing is that Macy's is, by anyone's imagination, an Olympic-sized brand. When we brand track and we ask questions, do you feel good about the brand, or is this a brand that I love? Macy's lives in a very rarefied brand group. We really are an Olympic-sized brand. However, before we get overly carried away with our new superpowers as a brand, and start trying to leap tall buildings, one of the things we have to do is we have to dig a little deeper. Because the truth is, loving Macy's as a brand is not the same as saying Macy's is my preferred brand where I shop. And one of the things I was absolutely intrigued as a marketer is whilst we had very high love scores, there was a big gap between love and it's the preferred place to shop. And really interestingly, that gap was virtually identical for the 18 to 35-year-olds as it was for the 36 to 70-year-olds. Okay? What we weren't doing is transferring a brand affection into brand preference. Now, we did the standard operating technique of what you then do is you go to customers and you do the word cloud and you say, okay, give us 3 words that describe Macy's. And there are lots of good things here. Quality, good, variety, selection are strong, powerful words you want to see burning through. Expensive, when you consider the amount of promotions we're running, is not so good. But sometimes the words that are absent from word clouds are as important as the words that are there. So where was fashion? Where was on trend? So what that did is it gave us clues as marketers to how do we go close that gap? What are the strategic narratives that we had to tell in order to reignite customers' relationship with this brand? So the first thing you do as a marketer, as you know, is you start with your customer. So let me introduce you to our wonderful, rather wonderful Macy's customer. If you could play the film, please.
If you think about the heart and soul of who Macy's shopper is, she is the fashionable spender. She's very distinctive versus your competitive set. She's much more likely to say that she's optimistic. She's much more spontaneous. She's much more likely to kind of say, I'm not comfortable with conformity. She's more likely to describe herself as adventurous and daring and fashionable. She's an incredibly confident and expressive and extrovert woman. I kind of love her. You kind of have to love her. You know, she's like your friend that always starts the party, that is kind of magnetic. She's the one who, like, you call when you've had a breakup because she's going to cheer you up and take you for margaritas. And that's who you have walking through your doors.
I love an excuse to buy like a new dress.
Holidays are a big thing, but also like promotions, a breakup.
Anyone's birthday. Birthdays are important.
I make a big deal about those things because I think it's special.
Anything that requires, like, we need to get the wine out and we need to celebrate, which can't even be a Friday. I find that I reward myself weekly.
Say I had a really productive day at work. You can go shopping or just small things.
Our family always gets together in the house and we all dress up like if we're going to the ball. You should see us in New Year's just to go to an apartment.
So what's rather wonderful about that customer is their sense of optimism. We look at our customers the standard ways. We'll look at them demographically, we'll look at them behaviorally, we'll look at them attitudinally. What we started to do is look at them psychographically. These people are life's natural optimists. And if our communication isn't reflecting that, we are missing a point. So where had we begun to go wrong? And I would point back to what Terry said earlier this morning. Macy's was a company that was putting on about $1 billion a year. And one of the hardest things I think to do is to change a winning model before it stops winning. And so when I came in talking a lot with Terry and talking a lot with Jeff, what we came to was this belief that somehow we'd got drawn into a hyper-promotional trap. And what we'd essentially done is given our customers insulin resistance. We'd actually put ourselves in the worst of three worlds. So if you imagine this, if you're a customer, what we were doing to you is, we're on sale. Now we're on sale. Yep, we're on sale again. Oh, now we're really on sale. And now we're on sale again. What the customer was just hearing was this white noise, we're on sale all the time. Underneath that, we were trying to say we're fashion, and I would argue being on sale all the time is kryptonite to fashion, because it's really difficult pretending we've got the greatest clothes if they're always 30%, 20% off, and here's a coupon on top of it. The other issue is what it was doing was creating the world's a very expensive marketing model to do, because what I was doing is driving up the reach and frequency curve on a weekly basis to say we're on sale. Now, if you want to see what happens to marketing efficiency when you do that, get in your car, drive down the motorway, put your foot on the accelerator, take your foot off the accelerator, put your foot on the accelerator, and take it off. You'll get seasick, and your gas efficiency goes to hell. So what we had to do is begin to rebalance this model. So think of it like a seesaw. Now, the first thing is Macy's is not going to stop running promotions. We are a promotional discounting retail store, department store, and that's a very important component of what we do. But what we've got to do is we've got to counterbalance that. So we've been talking about it internally. It's a pivot. On one side, you have the high-frequency promotions, and at the moment, we're overloaded to that. In order to come off the high-frequency promotions, you have to build the counterbalance. And the counterbalances we are building are big ideas, product authority, personalization, and loyalty. And what that allows us to do is start to look at our customer based on lifetime value. Because as retailers, we were really, really good at saying who bought what. What was bought when. This bottle of water was bought on Friday, we put it on discount, and we sold 400,000 units. We did that really, really well. What we weren't looking at as well was what is the health of our customer franchise? Is our customer inherently getting more loyal, or are they getting more transactional? Because as a marketer, I can drive to the top line. But if I'm having to do it by making my customer more transactional, winning them one purchase at a time, then what I'm building is a highly inefficient marketing model. If I'm making my customer more inherently loyal, then what I'm building is a highly efficient marketing model, because I don't need to spend as much money to activate them. So basically what we're trying to do is build the counterbalances, which in turn will make the promotional engine more efficient, so you get a virtuous circle building up. So this is one of the things I was taught when I first started in marketing. The heart of product authority is building added value into a brand. So on the left, what we have is a tomato. On the right, what we have is a sun-brightened, organically grown Mediterranean, Mediterranean tomato, hand-selected to be part of the Macy's edit. The point is simple. This is about added value. It's about romancing the product. As Macy's, we had got trapped in selling tomatoes, and what I want to sell is the Mediterranean tomato. I want to sell stuff that has been hand-selected. If you think about it, how else would you select a tomato? I want to sell stuff that is sun-ripened because there's no other way of doing it. But it's about romancing the product. It was as simple as that. So that inherent truth was pushed in front of the organization. The other inherent truth was the most important thing we can do is grow customer loyalty. We need to stop trying to recruit customers that are highly transactional and hug our best customers. And that wasn't a marketing exercise. That was an entirely enterprise-wide exercise. Essentially, Macy's is trying to create an environment where we are not just a company with a loyalty program, we are inherently a loyal company. And that will play across every single touch point we have. And I could spend a lot of time talking to you about the value of customer retention in upper segment tiers, the value of migration into those tiers. I'm not going to bore you with the maths, but it is intoxicating when you see the leverage of doing that. This is probably the most dull slide I will present today, but it's absolutely the most important. It is absolutely the pivot of the transition that we are making in the marketing model. We are moving from a model that is predicated on buying the customer one transaction at a time, one item at a time, to a model that is based on building relationships one customer at a time. That is a profoundly different marketing model. It is one that basically allows us to stop talking to everyone and talking to everyone as individuals. And that is what we are trying to do. In order to do that, we have to go back to a marketing model that is predicated on big ideas with real gravitational pull. Ideas that are so big that they draw the customer towards us, and the customer is happy to engage with those ideas. Now, one of the things that, I think marketing is in real danger of is we've all fallen so in love with what marketing tech can deliver that we're beginning to forget the art of marketing. You can take all the marketing tech in the world, but if you don't have a big campaign idea, what you've got is a really expensive set of plumbing with cold water, and that leads to a cold shower. So as marketers, what I'm looking for is building into teams a couple of things. Having generalists that have a really good balance of left and right brain, and then having deep specialists who operate in those channels and can maximize the efficiency of those channels. And then having a group of individuals that really all they're focusing on is what are the big strategic narratives and the big ideas that Macy's has to build in customers' minds and own and maintain and grow and nurture. So, meet Ricky. Ricky is the raccoon, okay? And this is really what marketing is like. Marketing, we have to accept, and I know this is an outrageous statement, and if any of you quote me on it, I will get thrown out of the marketing guild, so I will deny it. But no one is waiting for our marketing to interrupt what they are actually watching at the moment. It's a sad truth that today, with audience fragmentation, the ability of DVRing, ad blockers, channel subscription, cord cutting, we live in a world where consumers can avoid our advertising if they want to. So the old models of being able to book a whole load of media and then just push it in front of the customer, as pioneered by P&G in the late 70s and 80s, those days are over. We have to move to a model where the customer is prepared to engage with our marketing messages. So we have to absolutely accept that marketing is the uninvited guest. And if we are going to interrupt what you are actually enjoying watching, we better make sure that we are interesting. So what we're doing is we're shifting our model from one predicated on getting attention. What are the messages that we want to push at you and scream really, really loudly, to one that is predicated on earning engagement, getting attention to earning engagement. And what that means is we're beginning to evolve our media mix, and I'll explain this in a little bit more, from broadcast into narrowcast. And what I mean by that is the broadcast layer is when we are going out at high reach and frequency in television and in radio to get people to understand those core messages. And I'm looking to find a target audience highly effectively. So imagine this entire room is my target audience. What I'm trying to do is hit every single one in this room. But the vast majority of people who are in this room, whilst they might be in the right demographic target, are not actively searching for a product. So what we're now doing is layering down into the narrowcast layer, which is when we're using digital retargeting, behavioral retargeting, CRM targeting, to basically go, okay, we can see that of the entire room, this section are actively engaged in purchase at the moment. Therefore, we bring more communication pressure against them. And then finally, pull, which is when we're seeing that they're actively engaged in the purchase cycle, that they are sending us signals that they are really, really interested in buying. That's when we start really retargeting and doing a lot of the digital retargeting work that allows us to convert interest into activation. It's a really different way of looking at our media mix. So taking out the old models and basically saying we're operating across 3 layers: broadcast, narrowcast, and pull. A layer that is designed to interrupt and layers that are designed to intercept. So I could stand up here all day and talk about big marketing ideas that I believe in. I could talk about Nike as a campaign and the Just Do It and how that developed. In actual fact, if you want to read one book on marketing, go and read a book by Scott Bedbury, who was the CMO of Nike when the Just Do It line was presented. So there was this famous case history of when Phil Knight and a guy called Dan Wieden, he's probably one of the most iconic advertising leaders of our generation. They'd just run the most expensive campaign that Nike had ever run, and this was when Nike was a tiny company. And it had completely failed. And Dan Wieden and Phil Knight met in a room to try and figure out what was the next idea to make Nike grow. And Dan Wieden presented this idea called Just Do It, and Phil Knight's reaction was, just do what? But from that little seed, from that insight, that ability to say, if you're a human and you have a body, you're an athlete. If you're an athlete, then the idea and the concept of just doing it will resonate deeply with you, because that is the spirit that drives athletes. That was the idea, along with fantastic product design and lots of other stuff, that ignited the Nike brand in customers' minds. Terry told you I spent a long time working with De Beers on the Diamond is Forever campaign. This was another big idea that I can talk about because I was directly involved in it. When in the early 2000s, about 2001, 2002, De Beers opened a new mine in Namibia as a JV with the Namibian government. And because mines are stubborn things, you never actually know what's coming out of them. This mine started to produce lots of really, really small diamonds, as opposed to diamonds that you could cut to 1-carat stones, which was slightly, so De Beers basically had about $5 billion worth of small diamonds, and they didn't know what to do with them. So they came to the US marketing group that I led, and they said, look, you've got to go out and you've got to create demand for small diamonds. And we're going, really? We spent the previous generation selling big diamonds, now we've got to sell small diamonds. How do we do that? And the team that I led came up with this absolutely brilliant insight. And the insight was this: women have 2 hands. The left hand could be about your relationship. The left hand was about us. The right hand could be about you. could be about self-identity. You got to remember, this was in 2000. A lot of campaigns had not been into this space before. And when we presented this idea to De Beers, I was almost flogged for heresy because diamonds had always been about love. You can't suddenly say to women, diamonds are about self-purchase. Diamonds are about love. If you say they're about self-purchase, you'll crack this mirror of that diamonds are the ultimate gift of love, which was a sort of interesting theory. What we did is we then went in front of women who are much smarter than the men that were having that discussion and basically said, quite frankly, I have no problem with that. If you're telling me I can buy them for myself, if you're telling them I can be given them, that's great. All I want is a ring that I love. We launched this campaign in 2002. Within a year, right-hand ring sales have grown to be $2.7 billion. So that's what I mean by a big idea that gets into people's minds, that inherently makes truth and resonates deeply. The other thing that I learned from that campaign, and I learned from De Beers, is that, there is a really important balance between added value and discounting. No man in the history of ever got down on his knee and said, here you are, darling, I got a great deal. So as brands, we've got to remember that lesson. So the model that we are building at Macy's is predicated on 4 layers. The base layer is all about value. It's how we're re-engineering the promotional layer. And as Terry said, what we've also layered into that base layer is a loyalty program. That was really important. We had to go and hug our best customers. The middle layer is about authority, explaining to people that we have the best products, we have the best fashion, that fashion is absolutely in our DNA. We are the brand that incubated Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, and Michael Kors. We're based in New York. Our competitors, Dallas, Minneapolis, cannot talk about being in fashion's front row. We can. And then finally, we need to emotionally engage. We need to get in and show that we are part of their lives and we want to be part of their lives. How this translates is into a campaign that is playing out like this. We've launched the love layer, and I'm going to show you some work that we ran at Christmas that was unashamedly designed to win the emotional high ground. We have these amazing assets like the Macy's Day Parade. And the Macy's Day Parade is really unusual because this is not Macy's just writing a very large check to someone who builds a parade. We have a 200,000 square foot studio. We have people who work for Macy's who 364 days a year are building floats and building balloons, and on Thanksgiving Day, they all come out. It is an absolutely amazing event for the brand. How do we leverage that against our brand values, but not overly commercialize it? The parade group has banned me from putting a one-day sale balloon down the parade route. I've tried. They will not allow me to do it. We also need to talk about our skills as editors, because quite frankly, we have to be seen and we have to rebuild our reputation as the best builders of an assortment in the world. And so that's what we call the product authority layer. And underneath that, we have to fuel it through value, and we have to have a loyalty layer that goes in and hugs our best customers and hugs them hard. So what I'm about to show you is a campaign that started to be launched in September of last year. And I'll take you through the drum beats as we've built that campaign. As I said at the beginning, it's very much a work in progress. One of the things I think that is great about, when you're in turnarounds or you're trying to fix companies, what I say to my team is, if you're in a turnaround and everything is fixed, guess what? You're dead. So every problem you uncover is actually an opportunity to do something differently. So the thing about Macy's campaigns is 1 in 2 shoppers shop with Macy's. 1 in 2 shoppers in America shop with Macy's on an annualized basis. So we are a really, really broad church. So what we had to do is create a campaign that could cover an enormous amount of messages. We have to be able to talk about different categories of goods. The latest gift with purchase, the latest promotion, the latest new product launch. So we have to have a campaign that's very broad, but every so often, we have to stand up and break through all the noise, break through the noise of our competitors, and launch what we call tentpole campaigns. And that was a new campaign structure for us. So, we also have to have narratives that can operate in different modes. When you're talking about fashion, you have to be cool. You have to be in the language of fashion. When you're talking about Christmas, you have to be warm. You can't be cool at Christmas and you can't be warm in fashion. You've got to get your language and your tonality right. There are times when we have to be highly transactional, and there are times when we have to be all about brand engagement. So we had to begin to build a campaign that had enough breadth and depth for us to carry the broad range of strategic narratives that we had, but yet held together as a brand to reignite Macy's relationship with its customers. So we started launching this campaign in September, and what I'm going to walk you through, actually what I'm going to show you, is a few of the component pieces. Now, I'm literally showing you the tip of the iceberg, but I think what it will do is it will give you a flavor of the campaign that we're rolling to. So the first thing we did was in fall fashion last year, we launched a new campaign that was designed to really say, we are serious about fashion. If you could play the film, please. So that was a bit different. And when we showed that internally, we had a really interesting action. Because a lot of the people went, wow, that doesn't feel like us. A lot of the younger people at the thing go, hell yeah, that's what we should be. More importantly, when we tested this amongst consumers, this film, in terms of persuasion, the desire to either go to a Macy's or the intention to think about going to a Macy's, this was the highest running commercial we've ever run, with 65% of women aged between 24 and 45 saying, I would consider going to Macy's, again, based on seeing that commercial. So what we had done is we'd started the campaign with something which was basically based around fashion, designed to be cool. It was shot in a very cool way. It featured real women, not models that were 10 pounds over organ failure, wearing cool clothes, and just had a cool soundtrack to it. And it was our way of saying, look, we are serious about fashion, and you should come back and check us. What we then did is in October, that was time to go and find our best customers and hug them. And so what we did is we launched a relaunch of the Star Awards program, and this was designed to be a very different piece of communication. It had to carry a lot of message, a lot of freight, but it was really narrowcast, so we were targeting our best customers through narrowcast channels of email, online video. We were not going broad with it, and this was designed to say to them, okay, our rewards program, our loyalty program just got a whole lot better. If you could play the film, please.
I'm Jeff Gannett, CEO of Macy's, and I wanted to take a moment of your time to thank you for being such an amazing customer, because I truly believe that Macy's customers are the greatest in the world. Recently, you said you wanted a simpler rewards program. Well, I'm here to say that we've heard you, And starting this month, we're introducing the new and improved Macy's Star Rewards, a reimagined, simpler rewards program starring you. You said you wanted more savings. All members at every level get 25% off any day you choose with Star Passes. You said you wanted free shipping. Gold status means getting free shipping with no minimum, plus the silver status benefit. You said you wanted better rewards. Platinum status means 5% back in rewards every day on all Macy's merchandise, no exclusions, plus gold and silver status benefits. We want Macy's customers to know they are the best customers in the world. And we want each and every one of our cardholders to know that with the new Macy's Star Rewards, it is your time to shine.
Meet the new Macy's Star Rewards, exclusive to cardholders. Discover your status today at macys.com/Star Rewards.
So that commercial ran in those narrowcast channels. It was very tightly targeted at our best customers, and it was designed to carry a lot of communication freight around we have reinvented the Star Rewards program. So then we moved to Holiday. Now Holiday is when we had to go into a different posture. This was from the brand that had Miracle on 34th Street, that ran the Thanksgiving Day Parade. Our ambition as a team was to go in and own the emotion of the season. So we moved from operating cool to operating in the loyalty program around information. Now we were going full warm. So what I'm going to show you is a set of films. The first is what we did at the parade, and we had Gwen Stefani to up the star power. But what I was really proud of was the Macy's Christmas singing tree, which was made up all of Macy's staff. It was an extraordinary thing. I mean, I was bawling my eyes out as I was watching it run, and just incredible program. And we've just been nominated for a Daytime Emmy on the Thanksgiving Day Parade. And then there are two commercials that will follow it. One was designed to say we're a product authority, and the other was just to say, you know what, Christmas is about being together. Perfect gifts bring people together. It's not the thought that counts. Don't just go and click. Go and get the right gift. If you could play the section, please.
3, 2, 1.
We present the first ever Macy's Singing Christmas Tree.
It's for my mom.
You know it's from Matt.
I know. Here, Mom. I hope you like it.
It's perfect.
I miss you guys so much. I love you, baby.
I love you, honey.
And Merry Christmas.
Let me be your everlasting light. The sun when there is none. Loneliness is over. Dark days are through.
You okay?
I'm fine.
They're through.
I miss her.
Me too.
Let me be your everlasting light. Love is the coal that makes this train roll. Let me be your everlasting light.
Hi. Hi.
Everlasting light.
So it was a campaign designed to unashamedly try to win the emotional high ground at Christmas. Together with some great merchandising decisions and some just superhuman effort in the stores, this campaign was part of the fuel that helped us snap an 11-quarter losing streak. So this was an important moment for Macy's. The next campaign we stood up, and we stood it up about 6 weeks ago, was We're Back into Spring Fashion. And it was time to come back to the consumer and basically go, hey, spring fashion's here, so we go back to being cool. If you could play the film.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know I'm late. I think I should be there in 10.
One way or another, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna get you, get you, get you, get you. One way or another, I'm gonna win ya. I'm gonna get you, get you, get you, get you.
One way or another, I'm gonna see you. I'm gonna meet you, meet you, meet you, meet you.
One day, maybe next week, I'm gonna meet ya. I'll meet ya, I'll meet ya. One way or another, I'm gonna find ya. I'm gonna get ya, get ya, get ya, get ya. One day, maybe next week, I'm gonna meet ya. I'll meet ya. One way or another, I'm gonna find ya. I'm gonna get you, get you, get you, get you.
One way or another, I'm gonna find you. Come on, Frankie.
So we're beginning to play in two core territories, one of fashion, and we're introducing this idea of find the remarkable you, which is all about, women have it within inside themselves to be remarkable, and fashion can be part of this getting you to that point. The other was that the perfect gift brings people together. And those are two core narratives that are beginning to emerge from the Macy's marketing campaign. The last piece of work I'm going to show you, and if you could roll to the Mother's Day spot, is what we are going to run in about 2 weeks' time when Mother's Day comes around. And again, this is where we go back to being full warm.
You'll be all right. You know Mommy can't go anywhere without her purse. Here, hold on to it, so you'll know I'll be back.
Good morning, class. This is Amy.
Bye. Bye, Amy.
Thunderstorms over the next few hours. Cloudy tomorrow.
Happy Mother's Day. I know I'm leaving for college, but I'm not leaving you. Hold on to this so you'll know I'll always be back. I love you, Mom. I love you too.
So, what you're seeing is a campaign that is in 4 layers. The love layer, the product authority layer, the value layer, which will remain and be made hyper efficient, and the loyalty layer. One of my favorite sayings is, if you want to accurately predict the future, invent it. I think at Macy's what we're trying to do is really move into that next communication model, that next brand model that will resonate deeply with our customers. And in doing that, make sure that we dial the brand back to full bright where it deserves to be. Thank you very much for your attention.